Okay, this book just came out called Nature-Based Solutions for Cities, which I think is worth summarizing here. As usual, you remember that this is going to be supremely brief. I'm not getting into details, but I'll give you an exposure to the kind of things that are covered here, and it's a nice addition to the overall course on climate adaptation, especially urban resilience, urban adaptation, urban impact on climate change, climate impact on cities. These are all critical topics, especially since already maybe a large number, what is it, 50% of the people live in urban areas, and then this number is going to keep increasing in the coming years and decades. So the book covers few topics: nature-based solutions, for what and for whom. I won't cover each chapter in this case. I'll just pick completely based on my own subjective selection criteria few figures and tables and principles that I will summarize. So here under nature-based solutions, for what and for whom, we look at nature-based solutions and climate change resilience, which we partly covered in the set on urban resilience, towards just nature-based solutions for cities. Just in this case is, it takes care of everybody, towards just natured solutions for cities. The solutions are just to be sure that you don't have a tunnel vision on emissions, resilience, and so on without worrying about equity and justice, right? Part 2 focuses on the nature of nature-based solutions, where it looks at urban ecological resilience, ensuring urban ecosystems can provide nature-based solutions. So there are some metrics and measurements and some reports of how established implemented solutions have been quantified to show that urban ecological resilience in fact is accomplished by nature-based solutions for cities. Nature-based solutions and biodiversity, synergies, trade-offs, and ways forward. So obviously these topics are excellent, and if you're interested you should follow up on the details, since I'm going to be very brief. The multiple benefits of nature-based solutions are part 3, where just nature-based solutions are as critical urban infrastructure for cooling and cleaning air sheds. Urban centers can become urban heat islands, and heat waves, already warming and heat waves, can affect different neighborhoods in a very different way based on socioeconomic classes, and air pollution is always a big issue for cities as well. Some of the most polluted cities, most polluted areas in the world are cities, and a lot of them are in Asia, China and India, for example. I don't have the pointer up here, but nonetheless, nature-based solutions as critical urban infrastructure for water resilience, human physical health outcomes influenced by contact with nature. As for water resilience for cities, I have podcasts related to this in this course on adaptations for the water sector, but it's okay to have some overlaps, right? Nature-based solutions and mental health. We discussed this a little bit, and I also have a course on climate and human health where some of these issues are addressed, but in this context, in this book, from this book, it's worth looking at a few things. Part 4, nature-based solutions, governance, planning, and value. This is a bit out of my depth in terms of just the depth of knowledge I have in this area, but I have learned enough to teach you this much. Planning and maintaining nature-based solutions, lessons for foresight and sustainable care from Berlin, Jakarta, Melbourne, and Santiago de Chile. So I'm not going to get into each example, but I've randomly pulled a few that we'll look at. Governance of and with nature-based solutions in cities, mapping, measuring, and valuing the benefits of nature-based solutions in cities. So vegetation cover, embedded carbon, impacts on ecosystems, biodiversity, and so on are looked at in these kind of quantified metrics. Finally, part 5, engaging art and design for and with nature-based solutions. Again, way beyond my expertise, but there are some cute results that one should look at. I am of course a big fan of the art and all the urban exhibits, outdoor and indoor. Cities like New York are always fun to visit. I lived in New York for 5 years. I love the city. So here there are some chapters on urban designs as social natural solutions. Social natural solutions, well-being and mental health are a big part of having art as a part of the solution. Ecological art in cities, so ecological art, exploring the potential for art to promote and advance nature-based solutions. 1 + 1 = 3, stories of imagination and the art of nature-based solutions. So that's a cute tag there. Towards mainstreaming nature-based solutions for achieving biodiverse, resilient and inclusive cities. So just, equitable, inclusive are key terms that are always important, even though it's not always clear how good we are in formulating them, implementing them, and evaluating progress on accomplishing, justice, equity, and inclusiveness. Okay, so each chapter, each section comes with these kind of cute art that are indicators of what we are thinking about when we talk about nature-based solutions for cities, spaces for children to still enjoy space and biodiversity. For example, urban light pollution can be a major nightmare to do stargazing, for example. And you have ecosystem-based solutions with greenery, maintaining biodiversity, and you have all the urban services, but also mixed with artificial or man-made wetlands, protecting natural wetlands, building around them, having plenty of greenness and walking spaces, biking spaces, recreational spaces, making sure we don't kill all the birds. This is happening a lot in terms of impacts of urbanization. You even see a little rabbit here. So having enough vegetation to maintain a lot of the biodiversity can be very important. So there is a lot of evidence that research-based evidence showing that exposure to greenness, walks in nature are very good for mental health, for reducing stress and so on. So you can see how water solutions, water resilience, air pollution reduction and so on can be accomplished with these sorts of things. So nature-based solutions for what and whom and for whom. So we'll take this section here, look at few results and then move on. So this chapter, maybe I should be more mindful about how I'm doing this. So let me go to the top of the book here. So I have my iPad open so that I can be sure that I'm saying properly what is each one corresponding to. So this one, which I should have placed after the tagline here. So let me see. No, it's okay. So we are looking here at nature-based solutions for sustainable, resilient and equitable cities. So does it carry all those informations? Definitely carries sustainable and resilient, but equitable. Access to spaces, shared spaces, common spaces, public transportation, biking and so on are part of the equity overall. But moving on to the first part of nature-based solutions for what and for whom, this corresponds to things like nature-based solutions and climate change resilience. So we are talking here about having urban farming, again greenery and shared spaces and biodiversity, walkways. These can be designed to be green, permeable pavers, rain gardens, urban farming, sanitation and so on, to make cities climate change resilient and also be nature-based in terms of the solutions. What are the kind of typologies that the book discusses? You can look at the figure number and figure out which chapter I'm in. So I'm obviously jumping straight to some chapters. I didn't say much about chapter 1 here, but here we are in chapter 2. Looking at elements, processes and interactions of nature-based solutions in social, ecological and technological systems in urban areas. So we are focused on developing nature-based solutions to cover ecological aspects, so the elements and processes here: habitats, ecosystems, natural resources and biodiversity, managing productivity, succession, nutrient cycling. So we reduce with urbanization, paving, you increase runoff and nutrient loading. So managing nutrient cycling is very important when the water runs into either groundwater or into coastal waters and so on and so forth. So that connects to technological and social aspects. So here hybridity, functionality and biomimicry, so imitating nature. Part of nature-based solutions is to do biomimicry. So technological elements then are existing infrastructure, data availability and engineering, so that you can actually track vulnerabilities, risks at neighborhood scales, and existing infrastructure can be often refitted, retrofitted for resilience, but building back better is always most important thing. That's where engineering aspects come in as well. So implementation, operation, land use, zoning, regulations and so on, stakeholder engagement, neighborhood watches and so on are always critical. So that goes into social, where equity, culture, funding, institutions and communities are important for education, community engagement, governance, conservation and recreation. These two are linked through construction and maintenance. Remember, we started very early on in this course with adaptation as incentivizing people and firms to adapt, but also making sure that public assets and public services are made resilient and made to recover quickly, mitigate the impacts of climate change, and risks also make recovery faster. So construction and maintenance and accessibility, which is very critical for equity, justice and so on, and service delivery are important, especially in terms of extreme events and so on. So social and ecological are connected through ecosystem services, concept we discussed a lot, provision, so public services and assets, public infrastructure, and management, of course. Okay, so quite general, but schematically it's important to remember the elements in each component of nature-based solutions for cities and processes that they focus on. Let's finish chapter 2 and then come back to later chapters. So these are examples: map of stormwater systems and wetlands in Valdivia, Chile. So definitely a developing country, and you can see how well they have done in terms of using wetlands as part of the stormwater management system to increase resilience to extreme events, flood management, and reducing runoff, nutrient cycling impacts, and so on and so forth. So here is urban wetlands in Valdivia. Again, you see how development is combined with maintaining and not building over wetlands. Of course, you also see a nice mountain and greenery in the background. Of course, you don't know how much was destroyed to build these things, but as long as there is a concerted and well-planned effort to maintain nature-based solutions that may be already available, so you build around them or you build artificial wetlands. Wetlands are great for migratory birds, for carbon sequestration, for nutrient cycling, for reducing water pollution, and so on and so forth, right? So that's already part 2, so maybe I'll just finish this by again looking to make sure I say the right words for what we are looking at here. So we're looking at just and equitable solutions for cities. So you have the educational aspect there, the produce, so urban farming can become big, should become big, and you have wetlands, you have stakeholder engagement, and you have people doing their farming so that the urban peri-urban interfaces or transitions into rural areas are also built in a way that water pollution doesn't affect rural people, and their reliance on shared water resources for agriculture and so on are not affected. You're maintaining biodiversity and so on. So stakeholder participation, where people have agency in the rules that govern them. In the sustainability chapter, sustainability course, we'll look at how to sustain the commons, where it becomes very important to make sure that shared resources like urban areas, urban infrastructure, urban facilities, services are regulated in a way that stakeholders have a role to play in deciding what is just, what is equitable, what is inclusive, so that they can learn by doing and change the regulations if necessary to make sure that they are not leaving anybody behind and protecting the most vulnerable as well. So we're talking specifically here the urban context for nature-based solutions, but sustainability of water resources, groundwater, air quality, water quality, all kind of merge between adaptation and sustainability. Okay, so let's come back then and look at nature-based solutions and make a few points. So as I said, I went through several chapters very quickly, and this is how it will go. I'm making very broad points using very few infographics from the book itself, but the book is very nice, very readable, so you should definitely go read it if this topic is of greater interest to you. Okay.